Hi, ladies. Okay, so as we said, we're learning in the merit to keep the Yidden and Eretz Yisrael and all over the world safe. Our soldiers, they should be safe and have success. The hostages should return safely and whole. Everyone who needs a refuah shalema should have a refuah shalema. And as mentioned, to give us clarity. We need clarity at this time more than anything. This is not exactly what we're going to be learning, but I want to get it in right here, right now. This week's Parsha is Parshas Bereishis. It's no coincidence that this war started on Simchas Torah. It's no coincidence that the previous war 50 years ago started on Yom Kippur. And it's no coincidence that this is happening in Parshas Bereishis. We are meant to gain wisdom and clarity, more than wisdom, from the Parsha of the week. What is that telling us? And unbelievably, the Haftorah, I hope to have time to look at the Haftorah. If we don't get to it, you must see it's unbelievable what the Haftorah is telling us. I want to learn together with you, but one thing we must say to begin with is this all started by the Eitz Hadas. Eitz Hadas Tov V'Ra, when they ate from the Eitz Hadas, what happened is Tov V'Ra got mixed up. Good and evil became intermingled in this world. It was clear the Nachash was outside of their body, and they knew what the Yetzer Hara was. It was very clear. Evil was something that they could identify outside of themselves. Now what happened with the consuming the Eitz Hadas, and the world changed so that the clarity was no more. Everything was mixed up. Confusion took over because we don't know what's right and what's wrong. It's mixed up inside of ourselves. We can't tell what should we do now, what should we do, what's good, what's bad, what's my Yetzer Hara, what's my Yetzer Tov, what's my Nefesh Elokis, what's my Nefesh Bahamis. We can't discern. It's so hard to discern. We try. That's the avodah of our lives. And that's what happened when they ate the Eitz Hadas. It became mixed up. Ladies, right now we're at a moment in time where we must have that clarity. It's coming, it's being shown to the world who is good, who is bad. And when we saw how clear and obvious the evil was, we hope that the world would see it too. And many people are seeing it. Many nations of the world who were once against Israel, now supporting Israel. Many individuals are seeing with open eyes what's right and what's wrong, what's good and what's evil, what's light and what's darkness. Hashem created light, Hashem created darkness. The Eitz Hadas, again, Tov V'Ra, it was confused, and now it must become clear. We must be clear within ourselves. And the more clear we can be with ourselves, the more clarity we will give to the world. We must have that clarity. And that's why I'm going to learn with you from the first Rashi of the Torah. The first Rashi of the Torah. It's unbelievable. We learn it every year. But the incredible relevance to what we're going through right now, it needs to give us the clarity that we are looking for. So I'm telling you what I am learning. We're going to learn from the Rashi. I am learning, it keeps me focused and directed when I read the Hebrew. This is Shulchan Shabbos. It's summarized Sichas of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and the Rebbe addressed, what does this mean that the nations of the world are going to tell us that we are robbers, that we are stealing the land of Israel from them? What does that mean? And let's learn it together, again, in the merit, and also for that clarity. Okay, so we know Sefer Bereishis starts with Bereishis bara Elokim es hashamayim ve'es hashamayim ve'es haaretz. Hashem created the world. And Rashi asks, why does the Torah begin with Bereishis? If the Torah is a book of guidance to teach us, then it should start with a mitzvah. Torah and mitzvah, that's what it is, right? It should be a guidebook for us. But we've had it backwards until now. We thought that the Torah was meant to show us how we can have a meaningful life. We're walking around without purpose, without meaning, and we're like, oh, okay, how do I get meaning? Oh, okay, a mitzvah will give us meaning. But no, the Torah does not begin with mitzvahs. The Torah begins with creation, because it doesn't begin with me. and I need meaning in my life. The Torah begins with how Hashem created the world because he created the world with a purpose. And I need to fit myself into that purpose, not the other way around. So Rashi's just gonna mute. So HaTorah Anu Maskilim Likro Hashavua Mechodesh. We start the Torah again this week. It's unbelievable as the Jews are uniting across the globe. We're starting the Torah again together. You know, I was hesitant to say this, but the Yom Kippur War, we called it the Yom Kippur War because it started on Yom Kippur. What are we going to call this? Simchat Torah War. It's going to be the Simchat Torah War because it's going to be the war that shows us that we have simcha in being the nation of the Torah. That's what this war is going to be about. So what does it start with? What does the Torah start with? He berosh uverishona sefer horaot the sivuyim. It's Israeli Hebrew over here, so forgive me if I'm not getting all the pronunciations correctly. La'am Yisrael. So what is the Torah? Of course, we know it's a book of lessons and commandments and guidance for the Jewish people. La'ar zos haisatzricha lehifteach b'mitzvah harishona. In light of this, it should have started with the first mitzvah of the Torah. Shenitztavu b'Yisrael ka'am segula mitzvahs. Kiddush HaChodesh. What's the first mitzvah in the Torah? We know in Sefer Shemos. It's Kiddush HaChodesh, sanctifying the new moon. Madua eifo niftachas Torah b'sipor brias ha'olam. So why does the Torah begin with the story of creation? She'ela zu me'ora Rashi. This question is what Rashi brings up again, miyad, immediately, b'perusha halapasuk harishon b'Torah, in his explanation of the first pasuk of the Torah, vehu mevi es tshuvas Rabbi Yitzchak. So he brings the answer of Rabbi Yitzchak. Mishum koach. What's the quote? What does Rabbi Yitzchak say? Mishum koach maisav higid la'amo lasis lahem nachalas gayim. And this is the wording of a pasuk in Tehillim. And Rabbi Yitzchak brings this pasuk to show us koach maisav. That means the strength of his creations, the strength of his action, meaning creation. The strength of his action, creation. He gid la'amo, he tells his nation. Laseis lahem nachlas gayim, to give them the land of the nations. So what does Rabbi Yitzchak say? He goes on to say, She'im yomru umos ha'olam liYisrael, that if the nations of the world are going to say to the Jewish people, Listim atem, you are thieves, Shekivashtem artzos shiva gayim, that you conquered the lands of the seven nations. Heim omrim lahem, they will say to them, Kol ha'aretz shel hakadosh baruch hu hi. All of the land belongs to Hashem. He bar'ah v'nasna la'asher yashar be'enav. He created it, and he will give it to those whom he sees fit, who he wants. So what happened? I already said a shahakol. No, with his will, nasna lahem lagayim. At first, God, out of his own will, gave it to the nations of the world. Uvitzar, no, and with his will, natla mehem, he took it from them, vitnatna lanu, and he gave it to us. Etzem hatzorach lishnos aseder haTorah kedei lahashiv teshuva l'ta'anosehem shel umos ha'olam. So what's this idea that we're starting the Torah to answer the claims of the non-Jewish nations? That's how we begin the Torah. Isn't the Torah a guide again for the Jewish people? How are we starting the Torah? Because the non-Jewish nations had a claim against us. We want to come their complaints. There is something fundamental here that we need to learn and understand. Ulam kefi shahadvarim ner'im b'pashtas. It seems that this would be a very simple thing. Lo muven es klal hatzdaka shel ha'umos b'ta'anusehem klape am Yisrael. We can't understand at all the correctness of the nations in their taina, in their complaint against the Jewish people. How could they have this taina at all? Their taina that we're thieves, that itself doesn't make sense. Why? Umos, rabos, koveshes, Chovlei aretz zumizu. So the way that the nations of the world work is that one nation conquers from another. You conquer land, and then it's the ish eino doresh lahachzir es ha'olam lechalkos ha'artzos harishonis. So once a nation conquers a land, they don't have to give it back to the previous nations. So why are they upset? The odzos, and more than this, milachatchila, from the beginning, kishachilek Noach es ha'artzos levanav, when Noach divided the land to his children, haisa Eretz Yisrael bechelko shel Shem. He gave Eretz Yisrael to Shem. Shem was the sabo, the great grandfather of Abraham, right? So even if you want to say, oh, who got it first? We got it first. The rak achar kach kivshuha haKanaanim la'atzmam, and only after that the Kanaanim conquered the land for themselves. Im kain dafka haKanaanim heim halistim. If that's the case, then you could say, argument back on you. The Kanaanim are the robbers here. They're the thieves of the Bnei Israel. It belongs to Shem, right? The great grandfather of Abraham. Ta'atav shel Shem. So it belongs. So if you could use their argument against them, how does this argument make sense? That's what the Lubavitcher Rebbe is asking here. How does the argument of the non-Jewish nations even make sense? Ella, rather, Tainas Hagayim Yesh Ba Mashma'us Amuka Yoser. The complaint of the nations has a much deeper idea here. What are they complaining about? What are they saying? Gam hem yodim she'uma yechola lechvosh eretz miyad cheverta. They also know the way of the world, that one nation can conquer from another nation. Ve'al kach bidyuk hem koblim. And on this exactly is their complaint. Osam kivashtem es ha'eretz. It's an Israel. It's a Hebrew, like a modern Hebrew word. You conquered the land of Israel in perpetuity. Perpetuity. I don't know how to say it. Forever. That is their complaint. V'hotzeisam osa mimasgeres hachukim hakayamim bein hamedinot hashonot. And what we did is we conquered the land and said it is ours forever. We took it out of the framework of laws. As I'm reading it now, I'm getting even more clarity for what's going on right now. We're saying that when we conquered the land of Israel and we took it and we changed it from Eretz Canaan and we turned it into Eretz Yisrael, we said the way that the land of Israel works is not like the other nations. It doesn't work the same way. We don't go by the same rules. As Eretz Yisrael, acharei shekidashtem osai ashar lechavosh od. Once we sanctified the land of Israel, it's not possible to ever be conquered again. It doesn't belong to anybody else, no one else. B'muvan ze achein shoneh Eretz Yisrael mikal ha'artzos. And in this way, indeed, Eretz Yisrael is different than all the other lands. Kol Eretz Yicholil Avar Tamid Miyad Liyad Me'uma L'uma. Every other nation can pass from nation to nation, from hand to hand, from nation to nation. Ach Eretz Yisrael, Achareishin is Kadsha. Only Eretz Yisrael, after it was sanctified, Eina Yechola Od Latzis Mershus Yisrael, cannot ever be taken away from the rishus, the belonging to the Jewish people. Af la'achar shegalinu me'artzinu v'nisrachaknu me'al admasenu. Even when we were put in galus and we were driven from the land. See, the way that the land works for other people, that lands work for other people, is that it's theirs when they're there. That's not how Eretz Yisrael works. It's ours even when we're not there, and we see that so clearly now. It's our land. It belongs to us. We feel the pain. It doesn't matter whether you're in Israel or out of Israel. We're all one people, and it's our land. Nekresi artseinu v'admasenu. It's called our land, even when we're not there. And that is how Israel is different. Eretz Yisrael is different. Al kain misra amim hagayim, and therefore the nations of the world are annoyed. They're angered. Listim atem, you are thieves. Lakachtem eretz shahita kechol ha'artzos v'kivashtem osa litzmithos. You have taken a land that's like any other nation and you've conquered it forever. Again, what are we hearing here? We're hearing that Eretz Yisrael is different. We need to stop thinking of it as another democracy, another member of the UN. We don't care what the UN says. We have to have the clarity from Torah, the clarity from, and again, you and I are not the soldiers on the ground. You and I are not the ones making these decisions. We need to trust and pray and hope that the people making those decisions in charge of the army of Hashem, the army in Eretz Yisrael, are making decisions with clarity, that this is our land, and we need to keep the Yidden of Eretz Yisrael safe. This is not another war. I'm going to read for you if before my Zoom goes off, the Haftorah. This is not another war. We have to see that this is different. And it's interesting. I was saying that the nations of the land, their complaint is that, yeah, we understand it goes from hand to hand. A country can go from hand to hand, but guess what? In the laws of today, according to the UN, it doesn't work that way anymore. And that's been the problem with Israel, the land of Israel, ever since we conquered it. This is why there's been so much issues. Because according to the UN, it shouldn't be going from hands to hands anymore. And so now even more, we have to have this clarity. This isn't about who conquered it when and what lands we got in which war and who's living there at what point in time. It doesn't matter the wars in which, we created the state of Israel. It doesn't matter the wars of the 6-Day War, of the Yom Kippur War. What matters is that the entire land of Eretz Yisrael belongs to the Jewish people. That is the clarity that we need to have, you and I. And it does not work the same way as the other nations. And they will have to see that for themselves. Kemaina altaina, to continue the last section, Kemaina, to answer in response, altaina zu, niftachas haTorah beBereishis. In order to answer this very claim, the Torah begins with Bereishis. Bikach mavhira haTorah. Again, clarity, that's what we need. With this, the Torah gives us clarity, clarifies. Ki ha'olam kulo shayach lahakadosh baruch hu. The entire world belongs to Hashem. V'lachein yesh lo haschus lishnos es muhusa shel Eretz Canaan ulahabcha laEretz Yisrael. Therefore, Hashem has the ability, because the whole world belongs to him, to change the essence of Eretz Canaan and to transform it into Eretz Yisrael. Vizos b'shlosha shlavim, and this happened in 3 phases, going back into the Rashi. Techila, bera'a, vinasna. He created it and he gave it. Miyad kishe bera'ah chashishev liseis la'am Yisrael. As soon as Hashem created the world, the intention immediately was to give it to Am Yisrael. Asher yashar be'einav, as Rashi said, who he saw fit. This is who Hashem intended to give the Eretz Yisrael to, is to the Jewish people. 2, achar kach nasna lehem. After this intention from the beginning, he gave it. He gave it to the nations of the world temporarily. Ki hakadosh baruch hu ratza shehaaretz tiyatchila b'rshas hagayim. Hashem wanted it to first be in the hands of the non-Jewish nations. Va'anu ba'avoda seinu, and we in our avoda, in our service, through our avoda, na'aseh mimena eretz Yisrael. He wanted it to come from us, that it shouldn't just be ours from the moment of creation, but that we should work for it. We should transform it. We should transform the land of Eretz Yisrael. We should transform the whole world. We should transform our bodies, the physical, our mundane lives, the physicality of the world should be transformed from Eretz Canaan to Eretz Yisrael. 3, ulevisof nitla mehem v'nasna lanu. And in the end, he took it from them and he gave it to us, lanetzach, forever. Mishum kach niftachas haTorah b'sipor habriya. And for this reason, The Torah began with the story of creation, but pirut in detail. Not only a word, a sentence, a paragraph, a chapter, a parsha, a sefer plus. Ma'aseh hadoros in detail, the actions of the generations. Ad Yetzias Mitzrayim u'Matan Torah, leading up to Yetzias Mitzrayim and Matan Torah. Ki bekach tmuna hatshuva, because therein lies the answer leba'aluso hanitzchis. Therein lies the answer, the answer of the eternal ownership shall Am Yisrael al haaretz, of the Jewish people over the land of Eretz Yisrael. Again, this is the clarity that we need right now. People are so confused. The nations of the world are so confused. Again, many people have clarity. Many people, unfortunately, still don't. Some Jewish people still don't have clarity. This is going to change that. This is the time in which we're going to extricate the good from bad, the light from darkness. That is what's happening right now, that extrication process, so that we will be able to be a light unto the nations. My dear friends, that is in this week's Haftorah. More than that, the most comforting words are in this week's Haftorah. I'm going to read with you a little bit from this week's Haftorah. It's exactly what you and I want to hear, but we need to have that clarity that, again, this is different. We're not going back. And may, most importantly, may this extrication from evil, from good, this light from darkness, may this clarity of who Eretz Yisrael belongs to, may the full clarity come with incredible miracles that show the world without a doubt what is right from wrong. Without a doubt that Eretz Yisrael is not just the Israel, Medinat Yisrael, but it is Eretz Yisrael, Eretz HaKodesh, the land of Am Yisrael. And may that clarity be in a complete and eternal way with the coming of Mashiach. I have on my Zoom 8.5 more minutes. If you'd like to continue with me, I'm going to read a few things from the Haftorah, which is this week's Parsha, this week's Haftorah, which is so incredibly comforting. Ani Hashem karasicha betzedek va'achzik biyadecha ve'etzrach ve'ethencha livris am la'argayim. Again, we are the light unto the nations. That's what the world will see. We are a light unto the nations. I'm not going to translate every word, because also the translation I have in front of me is like very lengthy. It's not an exact translation, so I'm going to translate here and there. Lifkoach einayim ivris lahotzi mi masker asir mi beis kele yoshvei choshech. To open the eyes of the blind. This is what we're saying. Pokeach ivrim, we say every morning. We need our eyes to be open, the eyes of the world to be open. What is light? What is dark? What is good? What is bad? Hashem says in this week's Haftorah, He's going to open the eyes of the blind and liberate those held captives as prisoners. Lahotzi mi masker asir. He's going to liberate the prisoners from the confinement, mi beis kela, from confinement, and mi beis kela yoshvei choshech, those who sit in darkness, from the dungeon. Ani Hashem hu shemi uchvodi la'acher lo etain usihilasi lapsilim. I am Hashem, that is my name. I will not relinquish my glory to another. And skipping a sentence, pasuk yud, shiru laHashem shir chadash. We will sing a new song of praise to Hashem, one that the world has never seen before. The world has never seen before, the praise to Hashem that we will be praising at this point. Yud Gimel, Hashem kagibor yetze keish milchamos. Hashem will go forth like a warrior. He will stir up his zeal like a man of war. Hashem is fighting this war. Yet your kin ayaria af yatzriach alayvav yiskabar. He will shout in exaltation, even roar. He will prevail against the enemies. Hachashesi me olam Acharish es apak kayoleda fe eshom ve'eshaf yochad. I have long held my peace and kept silent. Hashem has kept silent and restrained himself until now, but now Hashem will cry out like a woman in labor. What has the Lubavitcher Rebbe taught us so many times? The birth pangs of Mashiach, the birth pangs. Are we in pain? Yes, we're in such pain. We're in such pain. It's the birth pangs of labor, of something new being brought into the world. Again, continuing the translation of that pasuk I just read, I will act as though I am terrified. I will destroy my enemies all at once. We're going to be seeing incredible miracles. Skipping ahead, pasuk Chav Beis, v'hu am bazuz v'shasoy. This is a Jewish nation that is robbed and pillaged. They're a robbed and pillaged people. Hafeyach bachurim kulam. Their youth are grieved. They've fallen into enemy traps. Ubevate klaim chachba'u. They're hidden in dungeons. Lavaz. Achba'u hayu lavaz. They're hidden in dungeons. Ve'ein matzil meshisa. Ve'ein omer hashav. They are subject to plunderers and no one rescues them. They are subject to pillagers and no one says, return what you have taken. And skipping ahead, this is the last pasuk I'm going to read for now. I'll continue on Parak 43, pasuk 5. Hey, Al tira. Don't be afraid. Ki itcha, I am with you. Ani mi mizrach avi zarecha umi ma'arav akabteka. I will bring your offspring back from the east and will gather you back from the west. May we see these incredible miracles that we're reading in this Haftorah this week. May we see it in such a revealed and complete way. It will be so incredibly obvious, and may it be with the coming of Mashiach. B'mheir v'yameinu, amen. Thank you so much for joining me.